Good morning everybody and welcome. And my name is Ian Fletcher and I'm one of the two presenters today, and I'm sitting here at the 2020 HQ with Ian Sumbler. Ian, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And welcome to this webinar entitled Data Security Implications for the Profession. We've got an excellent hour with you today where hopefully we're going to show you some great stuff about secure emails, and we're going to look at some technology, and we're going to look at items that may affect you from the Data Protection Act, and we're going to look at how we protect personal data of clients and how we encrypt it. Because data protection is in the news at the moment because in the US 44 states have banned the use of personal data being sent by email, haven't they, recently? And the European Union has got a consultation paper for their new European directive on this. So it looks like the US prevention of personal data going is going to happen in the European Union quite soon.
Absolutely. We usually follow the states 2-3 years hence, and it already starts to affect us because we've got clients who are based in the US, and therefore we're having to deal with that already.
So we're talking about personal data of clients today, and the information that we hold on file: names, addresses, dates of birth, national insurance numbers, bank details, investment details, dividend details, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we can lose data in any number of different ways. I mean, the screen says at the moment, how can it happen? Well, email is what we were likely to actually cover towards the end, because obviously an awful lot of what we do now in business is via email. But let's think about our profession now. USB sticks coming to and from clients. USB sticks are using backup.
I keep losing these. I lose my USB sticks at least weekly.
For me, based in Swindon, Zurich have got a fairly large presence in the town. They were fined last year by the FSA. 2.3 million, the largest fine in the current UK legislation. They got a third knocked off because they whistle blew on themselves, but that was an online backup, and the backup was lost somewhere in transit between here and South Africa. No one knows whether anybody's got the information or not. Our beloved HMRC were actually victims, but it was perpetrated through an accountant's network. Somebody had hacked in, managed to get the codes for the government gateway as the accountant being agent, and then processed an awful lot of false information and got fraudulent tax returns paid into a bank that they specified.
Very clever fraud.
Very clever fraud. But what we should be worried about is HMRC, having done the investigation, found that there was nothing wrong at their end, or they claim there's nothing wrong at their end, but they are looking in the future that if we haven't taken good care at our end, and this was about practice assurance, and their number is in their top 10 problems from the QAD visits. That's number 8 on the list: failure to register on the DPA. That is a criminal.
Well, I can't believe anybody's listening today hasn't registered with the Data Protection Act. If you haven't, do it now, but I'm sure most people have.
So we act as a payroll bureau, and I know a lot of the people who will actually be signed on today are also payroll bureaus. The contractual arrangement under the Data Protection Act for a payroll bureau, the client is the data controller. It's the client who is responsible for the data that we are processing. The accountant acts as the processor. Now, under the Data Protection Act, any fine for data loss or data breach is levied against the data controller. So that is your client. Now, from April the 6th last year, the fine was raised to a maximum of £500,000 per data breach. That was raised from 5,000. Now, okay, your client's going to get potentially that fine if you screw up. My suggestion: for us, payroll was the big item. We spend an awful lot of our time in payroll emailing backwards and forwards from clients. That's clients sending us stuff for the payroll and then also sending it back in the opposite direction. For us, that became compulsory. Every piece of payroll correspondence by email is now encrypted. What I've also done is I've actually sat down with our financial services team, and we had to make a decision about whether we did it compulsory. I've left it in their discretionary hands. They know what needs to be covered, and therefore they are emailing some of that stuff under an encryption solution, and other stuff is just going out without. And again, it's looking to try and assess the risk of where the data is going and who might use it if it got in the wrong hands. I've also rolled it out to the partners and PAs, because obviously, whereas they might not get involved in the personal information quite so much, they are very much involved in the higher end of our client base in terms of the way they interact with clients. So certainly in the corporate finance arena, the client confidentiality stuff, the commercially sensitive stuff, and again, they know what's expected of us now from the policy, and therefore they are using it in that area. So
you've encrypted everything to do with payroll, and you put a policy in place for any personal data going out in financial services and from partners, PAs. It's got to be made should be encrypted.
Yeah, that's correct.
So what do you use?
What we use a product called Egress Switch. The company Egress are one of a number of providers, but it suited us when we actually looked at different options, because, and I'll say this right at the beginning, it will probably come out in a later slide, what was important for us is the client experience. And the client experience, you can't force clients down a particular route, particularly if they've got to put their hand in their pocket. So the